today I'll be sharing with you what I read in February. Bit of a spoiler alert back there, but I read 8 books this month and I'm going to show them and rate them to you guys. So I've got a hot chocolate with me, and the first book that I read in February was Divergent. So this was actually a reread. Basically, me and my boyfriend watched the film and I just had an urge to reread the book, especially as it was one of my favourites when I was, 12 years old now. Yeah, I was in year 7 when I really liked this book, so that was quite a while ago. And I reread it and I was surprised about how much I remembered. It was quite nostalgic. So the next read I did was quite an unusual one for me, and it was Solving a Murder Mystery. Now, put my cup down for this. This was amazing, and I'll tell you the name of it. It's called The Appeal by Janice Hallett, and basically my grandfather bought it from Waterstones and read it, and then he immediately gave it to my mum and said, both of you should read this. So that's how I ended up reading it. It's hefty. It's a lot of information being thrown at you, and you just gotta decipher it and work with it. And it was quite hard to read at times. It's not the easiest book in the world to read. Not sure how clearly you can say it, but they're structured like emails, there's receipts, there's conversations. Yeah, and I really liked how, so these pages are about 2 characters called Femi and Charlotte. Now, they are law students who have been given the task to see what they think about this case. And that was really helpful because I kept getting a little bit lost. I'm like, oh, what's going on? But in those little breaks throughout the book, they kind of bring you up to speed, kind of guide you in the direction of who did it, things like that. And I found that really helpful. So I'm glad that she did that. Did I solve it? No, I'll be completely honest. I had 3 murderers in mind, and it was one of the 3. And I did get the motive right in the end, because it's all about, there's a dodgy charity case. That's hard to say. There's a dodgy charity case, and I did kind of say it was in relation to the charity case. So I'm giving myself some points for that. But anyways, it was 5 stars. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed. You kind of get sucked in. You're like, I need to figure what's going on. It's very compelling. Okay, so the next book I read is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. Now, I really enjoyed this book. So The Switch follows this character called Lena, and after having a bit of a breakdown at work, her boss sends her on a 2-month holiday as she struggles to cope with the death of her sister. Now, this book does have a lot of grief in it, and during her holiday, she comes up with kind of this crazy idea to swap lives with her grandmother, Eileen. Now, Eileen lives in this little village in, I think it's Yorkshire, and everybody there is quite elderly except for this school teacher. Now, you'll see how that comes into play if you read this, but the school teacher is not old. So Eileen, husband of over 40 years, maybe 50 years, left her for the dance instructor. Yeah, I know. So she's ready to start dating again, and we follow how Eileen goes to London on this crazy idea to switch lives and meets people and brings loads of positivity to everybody in Lena's old life. Lena also does the same. She takes the role of her grandmother in this little village, and it's such a sweet read. It does make you a bit frustrated at times when characters are doing something kind of stupid, but that's expected in books at this point. So yes, I really enjoyed this book. It might not be for everyone, but I'm sure lots of people would like it. And the switch was really good. I rated it 4 stars, maybe more like 3.75, but it's definitely about 4 stars. My next read of February was amazing. So, one of my friends recommended this book to me, and I was in the works, and it was there for £2. £2. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. And it's the Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. Now, oh my gosh, this book was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed the story the whole way through. There's not often true chemistry between characters in books, but the chemistry found in this book, you can feel it off the page. It was beautifully written, and everything just made sense. It's a really cool concept. So it's about how this woman called Jess, who's a statistician, and her friend is a romance author. It's kind of important. And she signs up for this new thing called Genetic Alley. That's what it's called. Yes, Genetic Alley, which is an online dating system that uses your genes to find the perfect match. Now, could this be done in real life? Who knows, but fiction is fiction. And it follows quite an interesting story where Jess actually matches with the founder of the company. And not just a match, you know, like, oh, you two are kind of compatible, like, you two are super compatible. And I'm not spoiling anything, this is all on the blurb, by the way. I'm not spoiling anything. But yeah, so you follow through the ups and downs throughout this story, and amazing. This was a 5 out of 5, and I annotated all my favourite little bits of it, and you can see the middle bit was so good. The middle. Amazing. You could tell the man was written by a woman. So the next book I read, I don't have with me. I was quite stupid. I actually went to the library about 3 hours ago, and I returned it because I forgot I was making this video. My stupidity sometimes. But I decided, after my mother's recommendation, to read some Stephen King. So what did I do? I started with the shortest book I could have found. Now, I read The Elevation, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not often I get attached to characters in short stories, but oh my god, the ending, I was actually sobbing. And I'd only been with these characters for 120 pages, and I was sobbing. Now, I do see a lot of criticism of it online about how it's very stereotypical, it kind of takes stereotypes and runs with it, and I didn't actually realise it was set in like 2018 or published in 2018 until there was a Trump reference, and I was like, hold on, how are the 1980s having a Trump reference? I don't know, I felt a bit stupid, but I really enjoyed the book. I think it's one that you'll have to read and judge yourself, because either you love it or you hate it, but the ending imagery, stunning. Like, oh, I'm still sad thinking about it now. I don't want to spoil it, but the ending imagery is like what made this book so good to me. And it's such a cool idea. Like, it's seemingly very normal. It's very like domesticated idea, but then there's Stephen King's twist on it to make it a bit more sci-fi almost. But yes, thoroughly enjoyed, and I would recommend it, but not everybody would like it. Thank you, Netflix, for this recommendation. So yeah, it's The Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. Now, I absolutely loved the Queen's Gambit Netflix series, and so I decided to read the book. And there was a bit of a thing with this, is that I looked on Amazon and there were only movie covers. Yes, they were £4, so I was like, maybe I should just deal with it. But I was like, no, I want this cover because it matches his other books if I decide to read more. And I don't like covers with faces on them. I find them creepy. So I literally went on eBay and found that book, and it was £8. It was like, oh, it's double the price just to not have a face on it. So I was quite annoyed at the start. But anyway, moving past my pickiness with book covers, I really enjoyed this book. Basically like the Netflix series, you follow Beth Harmon from a child to her adult life as she battles with addiction, her past, and trying to be the best chess player in the world. This book really makes you want to be a really good chess player, but trust me, you can't learn from this book. I tried. After reading it, I tried to verse my boyfriend in chess, and we drew, and I was quite upset at that. This book, I am debating what rating to give it. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, because Goodreads, I think 3 stars is too low, because the writing is excellent, and I've never come across this way of writing before, as I mainly read, YA, fantasy, romance, and this was none of those. And yeah, in places you can tell it was written by a man. Some of it I was like, what? And then there's this scene in the first chapter, I was just like, why is that there? Why is that there? And lots of people have picked this up. That made it drop an entire star for that one page. I don't know, I don't want to spoil it, but at the same time I want to warn you, so maybe check the content warnings for this book, because that scene made me go, huh? I think there's a reason Netflix left that out, yeah. Because Netflix included pretty much everything that was in this book, and I actually liked reading it after the show, because I could quite clearly imagine all the characters. Especially the ending. Oh, the ending's so bittersweet, and I really do like it. So I'd say this book is not 3 stars. Maybe just about 4 stars, probably like 3.5. Yeah, I think 3.5 is good. Obviously the author did not know that his work would turn into a very dearly loved Netflix show. But at the same time, did you need to include that bit? But yes, it's definitely written at its time, but I don't want to excuse it at the same time. It's a difficult one. I'll just leave it at that. It's a difficult one, but I'd give it about 3.5 stars, because the writing and storytelling is excellent, really. So the next book is also one that I returned to the library 3 hours ago, and it's called Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. I adored this book. I read it in like 2 days. Granted, it's not a huge book, but I found that once I started it, it was very hard to put down. I gave it 4 stars. So I reread my review, and yeah, I remember it a lot more clearly now, because kind of books all get muddled in my mind, because I do read quite a bit. And it follows this character called Evie. Now, Evie is a really strong character. I loved Evie. And this book kind of follows her after she found her father kind of doing some things he shouldn't. And it follows her trying to re-grasp the idea of love. And now I will note this, my bauble. I will note this. It's not a love story. Well, it's not a happy love story. There is love involved. It's not happy. It's very bittersweet. And I think bittersweet is the perfect word for this novel. I've read that Yoon wrote this book while she was in some deep battles of her own, and you can feel it off the pages. This book is phenomenal. It deals with issues surrounding parents, love, sisterhood, friends. It's got everything in there, and the whole idea is based off this soft fantasy kind of visions. I'll leave it at that, because it was really interesting to learn more about what was going on, but I would recommend this book. It's light, but also hits you at times. And it was 4 stars. Don't know if I mentioned that. The last book I read this month is The Girl You Left Behind by Jojo Moyes. just want to give Sophie a hug, honestly. So this is kind of a novel split between two perspectives, but ultimately revolves around a painting and its stories. So for the first, I'd say 30-40% of the book, you follow this character called Sophie. Now Sophie is in World War One, so we follow her in 1916. And Sophie is kind of the light of this town, and we hear about her stories when she lived in Paris, before her village in northern France got captured by Germans and under German rule. Sophie faces a lot of hardships in her life, but she always comes back to this painting of her that her husband, Edward, I don't know, I'm just going to say the English way, Edward painted before the war. Now, this painting is ultimately the whole plot line of the book, and I really wish there was kind of an image of this painting, because it's described so vividly, yet I cannot imagine it. But anyway, so the second character we follow is Liv Halston. Now, Liv's husband died quite suddenly, and the painting in question was a wedding gift off of him. When she's moving on and trying to restart her love life, there are a few complications. and this comes in the form of the fact that the person who she falls in love with is the one employed to get the painting back to its original or Edward's descendants. Ouch. Now, the story is really strong. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's 4.5 stars. 4 on Goodreads, because they don't do half stars. I loved this book. I didn't think I would. It was really long, but 2 days it took me, and I was in school for one of those days. So I read about that much on Sunday, and I read this yesterday because it's the 1st of March today. So this is the last book I read in February. I was expecting it to be the first book I finish in March, but nope, I surprise myself sometimes. But yes, I would definitely recommend that book. It was amazing. So there we have it, a very close angle to finish, but those are the 8 books I read in February. Whoa. Yeah, I'm on track to read 100 books this year, but I don't... Seems like a lot. I've ordered 4 books in the library to try and cut down on my spending habits. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to follow me on Goodreads if you'd like, because I actually review every single book I read, at least I have been doing since about December. So if you want any more in-depth reviews on this book, I do have them on my Goodreads account, and that's always linked in the description. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a lovely day. Bye.